I am a teacher at the Community Education Center, and today's class is writing an effective resume. And that's what we're going to be going through. A lot of the information that I'm presenting today, it comes from the information from the Job Center and DWD, the Department of Workforce Development. They work with both employers and they work with those seeking employment to maximize that outcome. So they're a breadth of knowledge. So it's actually quite useful. I've tailored that a little bit for this community as well, or our community as well, to hopefully help you obtain resources so that you can use that in your resume as well. If you have any questions, feel free to just type that in the chat bar as we go along here too, and I'll answer those as I go. So our first slide here, you should see my the next PowerPoint, or you should see this here. The first one is, what is a resume? And I'm assuming a lot of you have experience with resumes, simply because of the demographic we have in class today. But it's a personal document that contains your skills, your accomplishments, and your work history. It is essentially a marketing tool that is used for you to sell yourself to an employer. It is 10 to 15 years of relevant professional history, and it's customized for each job that you apply for. And that's the tricky part here, because a lot of people that come into this building don't realize that they need to customize it for each job that they apply for. So we'll talk about that more later as well. So when to use it. And some of these do vary a little bit simply because of the pandemic, but job fairs, a lot of the job fairs that I have attended this year or in the last year have been drive-through, but applying online, you would use them, attaching to applications if you were applying in person, networking at an event, or giving a copy to your references. And that is if you are actually asking someone to be a reference to you, you should be supplying them with a copy of your resume so that they know exactly what you're providing to that employer of which you're applying for a job with, just so that they can give you a good reference and they know what skills and background that you're speaking with in that job as well. Okay, so what goes on a resume? So first, and we'll talk about the double star items in a minute. So there's some required information and then there's some optional information. So the required information is your contact information, your job objective. And the reason why the job objective has a double star next to it is some people have it and some people don't. And if you choose not to have it, that's okay, even though it comes up under the required. It's not one of those where somebody from HR will look at your resume and say that it's inadequate because you don't have a job objective. It's okay. Qualifications and skills, that really is a must. And the average number of qualifications and skills that you should have is between 9 and 15. Work experience. And once again, I have mentioned that on a slide before, but your work experience is between 10 and 15 years, with the average being 10 years. Education and training and certifications. The reason why I put that on one line is because I put that like on my resume, for example, and some people choose to separate that. I put that all in one section. If you choose to make separate sections, that's completely up to you. A lot of people choose to do resumes at their own will. They want to organize it the way they want. They want to put sections in the way they want. And it really is a working document for yourself. So if you want to organize it the way you want, because I'll show you a few samples, that's completely up to you. This is just a guideline according to HR departments and workforces that DWD works with on a regular basis. This is what they're looking for in the candidates that they seek out on a more regular basis. References are a double star as well. And the reason why they're a double star is they don't go on your resume. they are supposed to be a completely separate page, a second page to your resume, and I'll show you what that looks like later. It's not an option to put them on there. You shouldn't make an employer ask for them, but they shouldn't be on the same page as your resume as well. The optional items would be the ones listed on the right-hand side of what you see here. The one thing that I do want to point out is military service. A lot of employers do value military service quite a bit. So if you have military service, make sure that you put it on your application or put it on your resume. There's certainly no harm or foul in doing that. And it's definitely something that would, I think, benefit you as well. All right, so, and then like I said, volunteerism, civic community activities are there as well. All right, next here is what doesn't go on a resume. The phrase references available upon request. Like I said before, they go, and I see a lot of this actually over the years. I've seen a lot of this. References are given to an employer because they're eventually going to ask for them anyway. But at the bottom of your resume, you should not be putting references available upon request. It is a completely separate page, and that's how it should go. Unprofessional email addresses. And you would think, why would you need to bring that up? Because apparently it's something that happens a lot more often than you would think. I think I don't need to give you examples of unprofessional email addresses, but just because I come across them quite a bit as well, both as a high school teacher and in this building as well. If your email address has any drug or drug paraphernalia references in itself, you should probably remove it and come up with a different one. Same thing if it has any sexual innuendo references as well. It's something that you don't want to be part of your job search references whatsoever. Photos. This has been a popular one over the last year and a half. I don't know if any of you have looked through Word over the last year, but they have new formats for how to format your resume. And one of them is one where you can put your picture up at the top. And I'm going to be honest, it is so nice. I bought into it as well. And photos is something that they caution you about not putting on your resume simply because with the trend in a lot of people being unemployed, we have a lot of individuals as well with there being ageism with your applications as well. So I know a lot of people have expressed concern, and it's an ongoing thing, and it always has been there as well. You just don't want to, you want to always have an edge up on your resume and in your application process. And if there's a chance that someone could look at your photo and think that you might be too old for the job, or that that photo may not be as professional as you may think it would be, that they would put that aside. So it may not always happen, but all it would have to do is happen once, and then that would be unfortunate. So that's why they would err on the side of caution for photos. Narratives and complete sentences, and that's a given. That's also not aesthetically appeasing as well. Reasons you left past employers or gaps in work history. If they need that information, they'll ask you in the interview. That doesn't go on the resume, as well as absolutely anything negative. Now I want to show you the ultimate resource here. So I'm going to unshare this screen because it doesn't, let me see. I've got okay. So let me know if you can't see this, but it still shows that it's shared here for you. Okay, so here is the O-Net Online. And this is actually used for a variety of reasons or purposes. So I use this actually for people who, I have people in this building who have been employed with one particular job for 15, 20, 30 years, or who don't have a lot of experience with coming up with job descriptions or with skills sets that they have for their particular job. And you can really use this for a whole lot of other things too. So the first thing that I want to show you is the occupations search. The easiest thing for you to do is your own position. So we already know that I'm a teacher. So I'll show you my position, and you can certainly look up yours, but I'm going to show you mine as an example. So when we look here at teacher and then search, what it'll do is it shows you a variety of things. And this is what I wanted to show you. So here, if there's a bright outlook, it'll let you know the sun shines, and it'll let you know that whether or not those jobs have bright outlooks for future career opportunities. So we'll click on mine, which is not a bright outlook, which is unfortunate. But what it'll do is it'll let you know that according to this position, okay, these are the tasks that I typically, and there's more if you look at the plus and minus sign, but if you're looking at your resume, and we've all been there, if you look in your, okay, so I do these 5 typical tasks, but is it that you're trying to do your resume in a hurry and there's really more you do and you just don't take the time to think about what you do? We're going to do a plus, and here's all the things that teachers typically do on a regular basis. And then when you're writing down in your resume what it is that you do, what it is that you've done in your job, take a look at these. And do you do those? Those are typical tasks, okay? And here it'll let you know what the technology skills are. Now here it'll let you know the little flames on the side here are the flaming hot technologies. And this is where this is a good thing too, for letting you know whether or not you're current in your job. So if I'm looking at this and I want to know, what do people do in my job? So I'm a teacher. Am I up in my field? So do I have one up compared to everybody else? So if I look here and I know I don't have much knowledge in Google Docs, I know I need to either take a class on that or I need to figure out how to teach myself that. Same thing with Microsoft Word. So if I don't know how to use Microsoft Word, that's something that I know that I need to teach myself. So if you know these flaming topics, these are the things that you're going to want to put down on your resume, because these are hot technologies that employers are going to want to see on your resume. And then here we have knowledges. So they're going to go through key knowledge concepts that they want you to know as well. So, we'll have communications and media, we have skills, we have abilities, and then we even have work activities. These are nice areas for you to figure out, what do I have and what can I put on my resume? Okay. Now, the job zone here too, if you take a look here, it'll let you know. Okay, so it'll let you know the job zone, and it kind of extends this out for you in other sections of this site. It'll let you know how much preparation you need, how much school you need, how much experience, how much job training. So and then what kind of education as well. Okay. Now, if you decide that you're going to change careers at any point in time, we're going to go back here. You can also go back to, and then you can take a look at more hot technologies as well. You can go to this little, where did I find that? It'll actually let you take a search, because you can go through here and search all your work values and technologies and skills too. You can go through here and actually take a an assessment that will let you know what you should go to. So, like, is good if you have a child who is going to school and they don't quite know what they want to be. They'll let you take an assessment and they'll say, well, these are the trades that you might be interested in based on your assessment of that. And that would be under finding occupations. And then there's a little search in here. And of course, I can't find it right now. I'll find it the minute we walk away from this. My apologies, everyone. If I find it, I'll send it to everybody in a link too. All right. So that's O-Net. I would definitely recommend, I've gone through and looked at that quite a bit over the last year because I found it quite helpful in looking at my resume. And then you'll see key skills later that I'll go over later on in this presentation or in this class that will help you with this as well. So just make sure that you keep that in mind as well. Here's resume format samples. And this is, I'm going to show you quite a few here too, but I'm not going to click on, well, I'll click on one of these because I can go back to it. But I have a few from DWD. Let's not click on this. I see why now. So there's a few on. Okay. So there's a few on the DWD, those links that I gave you will go through and give you sources for NWTC at the Career Center. It'll just give you sample formats that you can check out. It's actually quite nice. Can you guys see my PowerPoint again? Okay, good. All right, so now I'm going to go back here because I had a request to type in. All right, so I had a request to type something in. Can you type in assessment? And I'm not seeing, is there specifically somewhere you wanted me to type in assessment, Deanna? Yeah, I thought about that too. And it's actually quite, once I find it, it'll be, oh, if you, okay. I will find it. I promise I'll find it. It was the first thing I found before. And of course, now I can't find it. And I've taken it twice. Oh, here, right here where it says I want to be. Find it now. Okay. Okay, so here is where you can, okay, so here, what do you want to do for a living? And at this point, all of us have a career that we're doing right now. So you can search your career. You can browse careers by industry, right? And then here, if you're like, well, you know what, I want to do something completely different, they'll let you go through here. And I've done mine already. They'll let you go through here and you're going to label, they'll ask you about 60 questions. And then you're going to go through and you're going to label them strongly dislike and then strongly like. And then when you're completely done, you think they're going to give you a list of careers that you think they'll like. You'll that you will like, but instead they actually put them into categories, which is nice because it's different than the WowWee, the World of Work inventory, and a couple different ones that I've used before. This actually kind of narrows it down to what service that you would be, if you're going to be interested in the service industry, or if you would be interested in being a healthcare provider or something like that, and then you can broaden it out from there in these other searches. So yes, thanks for making me look for it, because I knew it was right there, and of course is right here. So they have something for veterans, and then they have more here on hot technologies. Just check it out, because they have a little, I think I spent an hour on this site just looking at things. They have a lot of data on here. So just heads up on that for everybody. Yes. Somebody just asked, will this tutorial be made available? I am going to upload this entire recording to YouTube, and then I'm going to put it on our website. So I will let you know when it's available. My hope is that it will be available next week. It depends on how quick I'm able to do this. So yes, I will make this whole thing available for you. My whole looking for I want to be and all. We'll get to see that all. Okay, so now that we've gotten through that, and then don't forget your resume format samples. There's some from DWD and NWTC. But now there's a lot of different resume formats. I will let you know now. I'm going to go through only 2 of them. The very first one that I'm going to go through is the chronological resume. When you take a look at this format, you're going to see right away that this is the one that you're used to. This is the one too that most HR individuals are going to be looking for as well. This is the one, the chronological resume is the one that emphasizes job history and accomplishments. So if you have consistent work history, this is the one that you're going to use. So they're going to want to know about 10 to 15 years. Typically what I've heard, and I know is 10 years is enough. Try not to exceed 15. That's your rule of thumb here. Here is a sample of what a chronological resume looks like. Now, aesthetically speaking, can you make it look prettier than this? Absolutely. But we're just looking at content, because this isn't even the entire resume. What I want you to see is the qualifications section and then the work experience, because that's what makes it different from the next resume I'm going to show you. Okay. Now, the next one is the functional resume, and this is the one that I don't see very often. I know it exists and HR doesn't look for it. If you're going to use the functional resume, if you don't have a consistent work history, so if you've been a stay-at-home parent for a while, or you've just had a break in work history for a few years, or even longer than that, I would say use this one, and this is what this looks like. And I know this probably looks weird to you because this isn't what you're used to looking at on a standard resume format. So instead of it documenting what jobs you've had year by year, because if you're using this functional resume format, you don't have that. You're then saying, well, I have experience in employment and training. And then instead of saying, well, I've had it year by year, you're going to say, this is what I've had. This is what I've done in this, and this is what I've done here. Okay. Now the references, I did make a note of this before, and here's your references example. You can format it. Mine does not look like this because you can make it aesthetically as appeasing as you would like. I don't use the addresses for it, but essentially what you have is the same name and address up here as you did before, and then you're going to have your references name, and then what they did, the relationship that they had to you, that's optional. You can put that in there if you want. I put it in there, and then you put in the work telephone number, and I include the email address as well. If they have an email address, put it in. If they don't, they don't. Remember to err on the word of caution if they have an inappropriate email address. Okay, so there's your references, and it would be your resume, and then that would be references. And my page of references actually is entitled references. So right here, I have another space that actually says references list. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. That is what I was comfortable with. And these are just examples. All right, now we're going to talk about these are important parts of your resume, because if you look, this is where and I'm going to tell you this again too, you typically, when any representative from HR is looking at your resume to determine whether or not they're going to make you go a step further in that application process, they're going to figure that out in these sections of your resume. So you want to make sure that these are the ones that count for you. So we're looking at the qualifications, and we're looking at the work experience. Specifically, what we're looking at as this section right here, this is what you did for your job, and then your qualifications. Now, keep in mind that I am giving you examples of this, and I mentioned once before that you should probably avoid complete sentences. So this could be done better and different, and we're going to talk about aesthetics later as well. Okay? So now I'm going to talk about specifically these sections. Okay? So remember, you've got about we're going to say 30 seconds max to sell yourself, and this is where you're selling yourself. So the first thing you've got to do is use action words. So when I first was redoing my resume to make these action words count, this seems weird, but what you're going to do is your action words are going to be in present tense for the skills you currently have now. So if you're currently working and you currently have a skill, your verb is going to end in ing, even if it looks weird to you. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so you have to look at your action. And what is your action? What's your verb? You're developing. So what are you developing? Programs. But then what is the outcome? And this is what a lot of people leave out. So when you are, and this is why I referred you to the ONET site as well, when you're telling people in your resume, what you do for your job, you're not going to say, I develop curriculum. Great. But you develop curriculum to do what? You've developed curriculum, and what was the output of that? Because that's what they want to see, is that you've done something, and then the result of that was this. So that's why you want to make sure that you have your action, you have what you're doing with that action, and then what was the outcome of that. Okay? And yes, you're going to do that for every single bullet point that you have for that job. So if you decide that you're going to have 20 bullet points for the current position you have now, I would caution you against that. But if you have 20 bullet points for your one job, you're going to have 20 of these. So that's why if you're coming in or you're sitting down at your computer to do your resume, you want to make sure you set up enough time so that you can develop enough of these so that you look great. Because remember, you're selling yourself. And you're going to change it each time for each job you apply for. And I'm going to show you why in a second as well. Okay, so those are your action words. Now, there's just 3 of them. So here's 3 situations. So you want action words that show your ability to do something. So typically in In jobs, they want you to be able to handle details, assume responsibility, and create a positive impact. Now, these action words are going to change for every job you have. So if you're a teacher, you need to be able to teach effectively. If you work in finance, you need to be able to do something else as well. Now, if you're looking at handling details, we all have to handle details. It doesn't matter what job you have. The kinds of words you're going to be using is detail oriented, precise, accurate, efficient. What you want to do is have a variety of words rather than managed a team, or what the same ones that I see quite a bit are managed a team and effectively handled money. So you want to make sure that if you're saying that I'm a responsible person, instead of saying I'm a responsible person, how are you responsible? Did you create something? Did you initiate a plan? Do you have a strong dedication to policies and procedures? Were you closely supervised by somebody, or did you closely supervise someone, or did you closely supervise a plan that is successful now? It's the same thing with positivity. It doesn't matter what job you have in any building whatsoever. Everyone likes somebody who has excellent customer service and is a positive person. So these are a few ways in which you can say that you had a positive impact. You developed a plan, maybe, that increased customer service. You initiated a plan. You increased something. You simplified a procedure that, you could even simplify a procedure that made the check-in at the community education center, for example, quicker. Everyone would appreciate that. But those are examples of action words. All right. So next one, these are now keywords. So keywords essentially come right from those job descriptions. It doesn't matter if they come from Oneida Nation, although the ones that I pulled I think are from Oneida Nation, but there are keywords in every single job description that you have. So when you have, what you're going to do is you're going to look for keywords in the employment and qualification description sections for every job that you're interested in applying for. Why? Because HR departments, I don't know necessarily if Oneida Nation does it, but I know a whole lot of other departments across the state do this. They have this ATS system, this tracking system that will go through, and before a human even touches your application, it filters your applications through and it looks for those keywords, whether or not you've addressed those keywords in your resume. And if you have, to what degree, how many you addressed, and if you addressed them, it'll take you to the hiring manager. It'll put your resume in there. And if it hasn't, that's why sometimes you get a response so quickly that says, oh, sorry, we found somebody else, or we found a more qualified applicant, when you thought, okay, how are you even interviewing people yet? So like I've said before, you have about 10 to 30 seconds to make an impression, and those summary of qualifications and your job experience sections are the areas in which you're trying to make that impression at. This is where you're using those keywords and those action words. So how are you going to do that? Okay, so you're going to take, in this left-hand column here, this is the standard qualifications. So let's say you're going to take a look at that resume, or you're going to take a look at that job description, and they say they want you to have knowledge in retail, produce sales, harvesting crops, and agriculture and / or apple orchards. And I copy this verbatim from a job description. So now what you're going to do is take that and you're going to tell them how you have experience in that. So I underlined some things. They want produce sales. So you have increasing sales. We got sales. And then by 25%, because remember, we have to have how you did it. by developing agriculture / crop promotions. So here, we also brought this up as well. So what you're doing is you're taking this entire qualification here and you're putting it in your resume so that you can say, yes, I understand that you want that qualification and this is how I meet that. It's the same thing here. They'll say something as small as customer service skills. And you can't say, you don't want to say, I have customer service skills. You want to say how you have it. Providing, remember I added the ing here, providing professional customer service by directing customers to proper locations. So what you're doing is you're trying, and this, what I have underlined in your resume, you're creating the phrases that is going to catch that automated system so that your resume is placed in the thumbs up pile. And that's what matters to you, okay? And then you'll see I did that at the bottom here too with this one. And, you know, I even pretended to apply for a couple different things this week to see if I could mirror them. And they're a little tricky. This is why when you go through and apply for different jobs, you want to look at what it is that what their minimum qualifications are, and then what their preferred qualifications are. Because what you want to do is, if you have it, match it in your resume. And that does mean that sometimes your resume is going to look different for every single application you apply for. And that's okay, because my assumption is if you're taking the time to apply for a job, it's a job you want. So take the time to do it right. All right. Now, after you've gone through and you've done all the rest of that, now we've got to take a look at aesthetics, because I'm going to be honest with you. I've gone through here and I've given you sample job. I'm going to go back here. I've given you job applications that look horrible for aesthetics, and I did it on purpose. Okay. This one right here, it's not bad, but if you're going to take the time to redo, you know, like right here, if you're going to take the time to redo this and make it more aesthetically appeasing, take the time and do it all correctly, because you don't have to type it all over again. You just want to make sure that when someone looks at your resume, that they're not put off by the spacing and things. Okay. So the Samantha Jansen, I'm not saying this is the correct way to do it. I'm just giving you an option. So when we look here, Word has so many different formats and things for you to choose from. So what I wanted to do was give you one of those formats that you could take a look at and try. And if you don't like it, like if you look at this and you're like, I don't really like it, don't use it. It's okay. I don't use any of them because I guess I look at it, and if you like this, go ahead and use it. When I look at the skills, I don't want them to think that I have all of these skills, but then this one is like, So if you view it the same way, then don't do it like that. And then just do your skills a different way. It's all personal preference. So basically here, what you want to do is just make sure that you use a clean font. So if you're don't use the italic fonts. Don't use big, bold, funky fonts at all. Make everything streamlined, clean, and precise. Okay. Leave some white space. You don't want to fill so much of your resume that it's hard to read because everything's filled with wording. Make section headers. And they did a nice job here with making section headers. So you can take a look at it, and if your only goal here is to take a look at their employment history, you know exactly where it is, and that's all that matters. And use bullet points. Rather than writing everything in a complete sentence, use your bullets. Don't be afraid to do that so that they don't have to read complete sentences. You kind of want to refrain from that, because if your average time to capture that audience is between 10 and 30 seconds, do you want to waste it on something that looks like that? I mean, and I'm not saying this is bad, but this is a lot of complete sentences. So, you know, great data, great information, but breaking it down so that you have a little bit more aesthetically appeasing bullets, easier to read. 1-inch margins. As well, don't smash. I've been guilty of that too. Don't smash all your information down so you can get it to fit on one page. 1-inch margins all the way around. Or Word is very good at formatting it for you. Just don't mess with the margins. And then your name should stand out. So I like this is fine. So just make sure that your name is something that stands out above and beyond everything else. Okay. Now here are some tips. Okay, some of these, there's a lot more, but I pared it down for you. There's conflicting information about whether or not your resume should be more than a page. It is okay for your resume to be more than a page if you are not putting down 20 years worth of employment history. So make sure that if you had a nursing job that you are so very proud of that you had 20 years ago, that's great if you still have that licensure. But if that doesn't pertain to the job that you're applying for now, you should probably just leave it off, especially if you don't have that license either. So it's okay to exceed a page. It's not okay to exceed 2. So just heads up on that. If you do have more than 1 page, it needs to have page numbers. So I have not done page numbers before. They have page numbers on them now. I've done the whole header all over again. So you'll have your name and address and everything on the top. I mimic that all over again. So it's really up to you what you want to do, but it saves space for you just to do the header up at the top. Don't staple. And I do have quite a few people that will copy off their resume. These days, a lot of your resumes and your cover letters and things like that, they're all submitted online when you apply online. If you are going to copy it, you need to make sure that your resume is on nicer paper. I think the conception these days, because everything is all done online, is that nobody cares about the copy of your resume, but they do. You need to make sure that it's on resume paper, is slightly thicker, and then don't copy it back to back. It needs to be single-sided. No first person reference anywhere in your resume. You should not be using the word I anywhere in there whatsoever. It's an understood that this entire thing is first person because it is your reference or your resume. Lead with the job title rather than the company name. So when you go to do your job experience, instead of saying that Oneida Nation, instead of listing Oneida Nation first, list your job title first and then put Oneida Nation after that. And then, like I said before, use ing verbs. If you use past tense verbs, it implies that you've done it before, but that skill or that job set is not essentially up to date for you anymore. So just heads up on that. Even if you have a job that you did 10 years ago, if you currently still use that skill even now in another job, you want to use ing. You want to use present tense to show that that skill is current. Otherwise, it's for something that you're not currently using. All right, and now questions. But you guys have been asking me questions as you go. This is my contact information. That's the website at the bottom. So, you know, I think almost all of you emailed me already. The website that the class information is going to be on is here. So if you need to access that, that's just fine. Like I said, I'm hoping that it'll be up and ready to go in about a week, and then it'll be fine if not sooner. Otherwise, if you don't have questions, there is a job searching class and applications next Wednesday. So if you would like any information on job searching and applications, that's next Wednesday, January 20th at 1:00 p.m. And I also have a resume assistance as a one-on-one class. If you don't want to show up one-on-one, I will do that class virtually with you as well. All you have to do is let me know. So the resume assistance class is January 27th, and those times are available by appointment. So there are 9 openings available. Well, now 8 because someone already took one. Okay. Any other questions? You can type them right in your screen. Thank you, Deanna. I'm going to send out a survey for you as well. And definitely feel free, I won't know who completed the survey. Definitely let me know if any additional information should have been provided as well. I definitely welcome any feedback. All right, well, if you don't have any questions or comments for me, that is all I have. If you need any other resources or need any other links, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, all of those links will be provided as well. Okay? Have a good day, everyone.